Some documents in American history have considerable importance for the development of the nation. We have used historical thinking to examine key documents which form the basis for the United States of America.
Most main events that led to the writing of the Declaration of Independence had to do with Britain tightening control on the colonies or taxing them more. Some of these events, including the Stamp Act, was when Britain put taxes on all paper products such as newspapers. The Boston Tea Party was when colonists dumped thousands of pounds of tea into the Boston harbor. And when Thomas Paine wrote the patriotic pamphlet Common Sense, the Stamp Act angered the colonists because they could not afford new taxes. The Boston Tea Party was a rebellion of colonists to gain support and to fight back against the British government. Finally, Thomas Paine's pamphlet increased patriotic support and was one of the final acts before the writing of the Declaration of Independence.
There are three parts to the Declaration of Independence. The first part is the preamble. The preamble simply states that sometimes people need to rebel and break away from what they previously were to make something new. Next is the main part of the article, which are the reasons for why they are breaking away from Britain. Not only does this part explain the reasons, it also has a list of 27 grievances the king has committed against the colonies. The final part is where the colonies wrote that they are completely absolved of all connections to the British crown, and that they are their own sovereign state, and that the only thing that had the power to judge them is God.
There were multiple grievances that went against King George III. We believe the most important one that the colonists listed is he cut off trade with all parts of the world. This was important because they were only capable of trading through Britain. This caused the colonists to begin planting more and more of their own crops, such as tobacco to make paper or cotton for clothing, so they were less reliant on Britain, and also began what would lead to the U.S. to become the largest exporter of cotton.
The Northwest Ordinance was established in July 13, 1787. The Northwest Ordinance helped to establish how states were added and how local governments were formed. They established a government by dividing up the land in the Northwest Territory, then creating a government for it. The government provided a method for admitting new states to the Union from the territory, and listed a Bill of Rights guaranteed in the territory. These actions influenced the government to set standards on how we would bring new states into the Union.
There were several problems with the Articles of Confederation. The government under the Articles of Confederation had no power to coin money. Congress could not regulate trade or levy taxes. There was no national court system and no executive branch to enforce laws. Amendments could only be made with the approval of all states. Laws needed approval from all 9 states, and there was only one vote per state regardless of population.
During the Enlightenment period, people began to think in different ways, and they began to see problems with their current government. People started believing that citizens had certain natural rights that could not be taken away, influencing people to rebel against monarchies. Jefferson was one of those influenced heavily by them. He improved on John Locke's idea of a right to life, liberty, and property, writing instead about the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
The Federalists and Anti-Federalists disagreed on everything. The Federalists favored the Constitution establishing a central government, and Anti-Federalists did not because they believed through time and growth that the government they would lose more and more rights as citizens. The Federalists opposed the Bill of Rights simply because they did not think they needed it. The Anti-Federalists supported the Bill of Rights.
The U.S. Constitution is a written document to establish the functions of our government. By 1777, members of Congress realized that the Articles of Confederation were very weak and limiting the power of the central government. They adopted the Constitution because it gave more power to the central government so that it could run all the states smoothly.